Travis is an author, he's a songwriter, and he is a father. And what he did is his first novel, actually, he self-published, Hearts of Men. And eventually that book was picked up by Strivers Row and Villard, which is it's a imprint of Random House, and it was republished. It was re-released by a major New York publisher. Now that is something that hardly ever happens. And so that's an incredible, incredible feat. Usually once you self-publish something, it's dead to New York publishers. So that tells you something about Travis's work. Since then, he has released 5 more novels: Married But Still Looking, Troubled Man, A One-Woman Man, Something to Die For, and A Family Sin. In May, Dark Child will be published. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you Travis Hunter, who's going to talk to us today. Travis?
Thank you guys for coming out. I really appreciate it. It's good being back up here at GPC without having to go to class. And because it was just last month or a month before last that I had to go to class. So, and like Jack said, I'm a single dad, and I decided to come back to school because for 2 reasons. One, as you get a little older, you start looking at things a little differently, and you're just not as excited and happy, and you don't have the energy you used to have when you were 18. And the first reason is that because my son did come up to me one day, and he's like, we were talking, he's a 7th grader. And so, he plays football and basketball, and all of his, I guess, friends are, the guys at Tucker High. Anybody here from Tucker High? No? Oh, well. So the guys at, he's at Tucker Middle. So the guys at Tucker High are getting scholarships and going here and going there. And so he's like, Dad, I want to play football in college, but I don't like school. So maybe I won't go to school because you're doing fine and you didn't go to college. I was like, well, I went, I just didn't finish. So when he said that, it kind of motivated me to just get on the internet, finish up, my school and stuff like that. And Miss Felicia Chambers over there in the brown helped me through this place. If y'all have any problems, go to Felicia. She knows everything. So does Jason. So my son's name is Rashad, and so I said, oh no, it's just, the education is very important. You have to go to school. I don't care about the football and all of that, basketball, all that. You have to go to school. So the flip side of that is I was like Rashad. Coming out of high school, I had over 100 scholarship offers. And so, but doofy me decided to wait a few years later so I could pay for it myself. So anyway, coming out of high school, I signed a letter of intent to go to Clemson to play football, and decided because I was the high school superstar. And when I got to school, I wasn't going to be anything but sitting on. I played quarterback, so a lot of times you don't play until senior year, junior year, whatever. So I just left school, went home. My mom was like, you'll do something. So then I went to my high school coach, and I'm like, I want to go to school far away. So I went to University of Washington. Same thing, different school, same thing. Gonna sit your butt down and wait your turn. Didn't want to do that, so I went in the Army. Okay, so 3 years of the Army, a gross misuse of taxpayers' dollars. I found a way to be lazy in the Army. So I got out of the Army, started working at a bank, didn't like that. So, figured out a way to be late for work every day. Ended up getting laid off. So throughout one of my layoffs, I had a few of them, I always enjoyed reading. Didn't used to like reading at first. That was part of my punishment growing up. My mom used to make me read. I didn't get spankings. She had real creative ways to get through to me. She would, the more trouble I got in, the thicker the book got, and by the time I finished, I was reading Roots. How thick Roots is, so. But when she found out I started liking reading, then she would take the books. Give me the books. Just sit in the room and read and look at the wall or something. So, but throughout all of my little journeys through college football and the Army and jobs, I always enjoyed reading. And so I couldn't find any books that was reflective of me. It was always how and why your man cheating, or how to kick him out in 30 days, or, he's a dog. I know he's a dog. My mama said he was a dog. So those kind of books, that was the books that I was finding. So I was like, okay, so I decided I'm going to try to read a book. I'm going to try to write a book. I have a foundation called the Hearts of Men Foundation. So I kind of applied, and the Hearts of Men Foundation is a mentor foundation nonprofit where myself and 4 other guys mentor underprivileged kids. So I had the older group of guys, and so I tried to apply my mom's philosophy on my group of guys, make them read, and so I was having a hard time finding something that could apply to them, and so I decided to start writing these chapters, and then so they were telling me, Miss Honor, these are good. I mean, I want to read more. So because I was laid off anyway, I decided I'm going to try my hand at a novel. So I wrote this book called The Hearts of Men. I self-published it with the proceeds from my layoff, the severance package, and refinanced the house and self-published. It cost me, I don't know, $3,000, something like that. So I had a stack of 2,000 books in my garage. I quickly found out that I did not have 2,000 friends and 2,000 family members, so I just had stacks of books in the garage. But I have a cousin named Ray Ray. And Ray Ray is a hustler, true hustler. I was getting calls from people saying, hey, I need some more of your books. I'm like, well, where'd you get the first ones from? Or your business manager named James, his name is James Moses, but he is really Ray Ray. Ray Ray is in jail right now, and he's gonna be there for a minute, but for robbing a Payless. I'm like, why you rob a store that tell you they don't have any money? You couldn't rob a Pay More? So he got $40 in the morning. He didn't even give him a chance to get open good. So Ray Ray have some substance abuse problems, but we working on it. We're gonna pray for him. But so what Ray Ray is good for you though. Everybody needs a hustler in their family. So Ray Ray was contacting people that had book businesses, stores, and all of this stuff, and sending them books. And he was also getting the checks, wasn't telling me anything about it. But so this guy from New York called Carl Weber, he owned a bookstore. And Carl said, hey man, your books, I can't keep them in. Your business manager only sends me 40. And I need like 100. And I'm like, okay, so who's my business manager? So anyway, come to find out it's Ray Ray. And so Carl said, well, instead of you just reaching out to store, why don't you go to this expo in Chicago called the Book Expo? So I went to Chicago to this book expo, and Carl didn't tell me. See, Carl had signed a book deal with Kensington, so he had all of these people carrying his books and limos and all of this good stuff. So I was at the Red Roof Inn and in a taxi cab. And so, but I didn't know you had to have a pass to get into the book expo. So once I got there, it cost like $700 to get the pass to get in. So I'm like, oh Lord, okay, whatever. So I had to turn in the Ray Ray and figure out a way to get into the book expo. So I go up to this lady, the little security guard lady wouldn't let me in. She said, no, sir, you need a pass. Go on over there and get a pass. So I'm taking her job all serious. All right. So I go over to the little lady and I'm telling my say, listen, I came from Chicago. I came up to Chicago from Atlanta. I don't have any more money. I don't know how. And she's like, baby, don't worry about it. And she gave me the pass. I went in. First person I met was Eric Jerome Dickey. And this was, I think, 1999. And so Ray Ray, again, went on Eric's website, and all of the people on his guest book, he emailed him and said, Eric Jerome Dickey is my mentor, and if you like his books, you'll like mine. So Eric says, you Travis Hunter? I'm like, yeah. He's like, bro, let me talk to you for a second. You can't do it. I mean, I don't mind mentoring you, but I need to know about it. People are coming up to me asking me, can you mentor me? You mentor Travis Hunter? I'm like, bro, I don't know what you're talking about. So anyway, after we did a little research, we found out it was Ray Ray. And so Eric was like, but he's real cool. So he's like, come on, I'm going to introduce you to some people. So those books from Atlanta to Chicago was hurting my shoulder bad. So I was just trying to give them away. Anybody here? Want one? Want two? Want three? So, and Eric was like, don't give them, let me tell you who to give the books to. So he was giving me people who were, I guess, in the publishing world who could help. So after all, I got rid of all of my books, whatever, I come back home. About a week later, I started getting phone calls from New York publishers saying they wanted to publish the books. So I get, after everything is said and done, I go with Random House because they had a new imprint called Strivers Row, and they had $1 million advertising, and they were looking for new authors, and I could use all the advertising because Ray Ray got locked up again. So I went with Random House, and my first book was called The Hearts of Men, and I only had The Hearts of Men, but Random House wanted to sign me to 2 books, and so they were like, do you have another book? And I'm like, sure. I do write fiction. You can't expect me to tell the truth. So I said, yeah, I got another book. And they were like, well, what's the name of it? I'm like, I'm not sure. But Hearts of Men became required reading at a bunch of colleges. So I was at Florida State doing a book signing down there for Hearts of Men. And this one woman had this big, nice wedding ring on it, but she kept flirting with me. Ooh, Lord. And I was like, aren't you married? So she's like, yeah, but I'm married, but I'm still looking. So I said, well, that's the name of my new book. So I called Random House. Yeah, I'm working on Married but Still Looking. So they were excited about it at the time, but I ended up getting in trouble behind that title to this day. Old women come up to me, what you looking for? That's not God-like. So I get in trouble. So Married but Still Looking came out, and then they did very well. It was my biggest selling book, and so they wanted to sign me to a new deal, and I did the third one, which was sort of like a trilogy called Trouble Man. It was about one of the characters in Married but Still Looking. He's a drug dealer, and he has a son who's basically worships the ground he walks on, and every little step he takes, his son is there trying to emulate it. So he's seeing, I can handle this life, but I don't want it for my son. So it's his journey through trying to figure out how to position himself out of the drug world into the legitimate world for his son. And so that was Trouble Man. And then I came up with a book called A One-Woman Man, which is about a teacher in Atlanta who was accused of a crime he didn't commit, and his brother's a police officer, and well, he's an undercover drug dealer, but they don't know he's an undercover drug dealer. So I guess I shouldn't have told y'all that. Oh well. But anyway, his brother steps in to try to figure out a way to get him out of this trouble he's in. His sister is a physician, but she's a heavy woman. Her self-esteem is not too hot. She gets with a little shady character for her husband, and he uses her. And anyway, it's all of this family trying to help each other out. That's A One-Woman Man. And then I came up with Something to Die For, about this guy who goes to jail for something he didn't do. And when he gets out of jail, he comes to find out he stops talking to everybody. He was a college athlete, and he got accused of a murder. And he goes to prison for life. So when he goes to prison for life, he thinks in his head, I'm going to do my family a favor and not make them go through this with me. So he shut off all communication. Well, with the exception of the grandma who just wouldn't go away. And then when he finally gets exonerated, he comes out, finds out his mother is no longer who he left. She's on drugs real bad. His girlfriend, his fiance, he didn't know she was pregnant. She had a baby, and she's with this very controlling man, and he's trying, when he gets out of jail, he's trying to get his family back. So that was Something to Die For. And then we have Family Sin, which is about this guy who basically murdered someone himself. He did do it. But his brother is sort of like my Ray Ray. Because if I did something, Ray Ray would happily go to jail for me. He's like, nah, you a good dude. I go to jail. I'm cool. I'm institutionalized. Boy, I can hang in jail. You would go crazy. And so so his brother is in jail, but his brother is dying of AIDS, and he wants to get him out. And he didn't want to go to jail, but of course he's like, finally, I just have to step up and, accept this. I can't let him die in prison behind something that I did. So it's their journey to try to figure that out. And then I have a new book coming out called Dark Child. And this is an exciting book because I left Random House, and I'm with a new publisher now called Simon & Schuster. And Dark Child comes out May 12th, and it's about stolen black babies. And the puppet masters who are stealing these black babies, they're stealing them from very poor families. Their intentions are good because they don't want the kids to grow up in rough environments and turn out to be menaces to society. So, but they're using crackheads to steal the babies. So if you get caught, it's just a crackhead. I'm like paying attention to crackheads. So it's funny how one of the crackheads is really not a bad person. She's just got caught up, and so she ends up with the baby, brings it home, and everybody thinks it's her baby. And so when they're raising it and everything comes out, it's interesting how, no media is covering the stolen black babies, and and how it takes this community to come together to keep these babies. And so it's interesting. So this is the first book that I wrote in a long time that I keep reading myself. Most of the time, by the time you write them, you're so tired of them. By the time you turn them into your publisher, you're like, man, please, go on. So with this one, I'm actually enjoying, and I keep changing stuff and change. And my publisher's like, you know what? We print it out. You can change all you want. We've moved on with the printing. So it's exciting. I'm enjoying this one. I also have my first young adults book coming out in July called One for the Money. And it's about these two little guys who are, one's an athlete, one's more he's more educated. He's a intellectual, and they have this little plan with their lives. One's going to go pro and one's going to be his agent, but the home life is getting in their way. They're dealing with the stuff in the projects, and it may take them off task. So that's my young adults book. I did that book because I teach at the juvenile detention center on Panthersville Road, the regional youth detention center over there. And yesterday when I was there was this guy who hacked into a bank at 13 years old. And he's hacked into a bank system and had money transferred into his mother's account at 13. And while I was there, he was rearrested for creating bond papers. So he was going to send his own. I mean, this is a brilliant little boy, but his focus is all wrong. He's channeled it in the right direction. So that's one of the reasons why I I volunteered at Juvenile Detention. I go up there 2 to 3 days a week, and I really enjoy working with the underclass, the roughnecks of the world. And so, I mean, every day it's a journey up there, and that's part of why I do what I do, and part of why I write the books that I write with the people that are going through all of these issues and drama and all of this stuff. So that's my story, sticking with it. And I guess we can turn it over to questions, comments, concerns. Yes, ma'am. I wrote songs. I wrote songs on Mariah Carey's first CD. I worked with R. Kelly and Sparkle on that song. You better be careful what you say to me. That I wrote his part. He wrote her part. And I worked with Gerald Levert on a few things. So the only other writing, and I wrote stage plays. There's a stage play out for Married But Still Looking that we did off Broadway. And we're doing it again to take it more contemporary, so it'll be at the Fox and that kind of thing. So. And we're also going to work on one for a one-woman man. So, and I have a film deal with this company called Firestorm, and they did Usher's World Tour and Puff Daddy's World Tour and the Pussycat Dolls World Tour. They never did a film before, so they're doing Something to Die For as a film. And I'm trying to get Dark Child in there too, because I think that would be a very good film. But so those are the other writing forms that I've done. Any other questions? Yes. So, I mean, not really. It's just that I write, there are a lot of books out there with the female experience. And so I write with the male experience in mind. Because, I mean, you can always find a Terry McMillan or somebody who, I mean, and even the males tend to write, because females buy books 10 to 1. So, you know, if you want to get paid, you better tap into the female experience. So with me, I wasn't really doing it to get paid. I was doing it because it's really a passion, and I mean, it's really, I'm doing it for something else. You know, of course you want to get paid for whatever you do, but I'm doing it for something, and I don't even know what it is right now. I'm figuring out one of these days. But I mean, I have to, my editors help out a lot with the female experience. No, Travis, it wouldn't be this way. No, you know, so they help out, and because I'm clueless. So, yes.
Do you still want to write music?
Yeah, I'm working right now. I actually not one of those guys who like to talk about things before they happen. I only talk about them after, because I'm superstitious. I was driving over here the day a black cat crossed the street. I stopped, turned around, went all the way around. High as gas is, I still went all the way around. I'm just superstitious like that. So, I mean, yeah, I'm working on some things. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
What's your degree that you're going for at Georgia State, and how does it connect with
Psychology. That's the one from here. It's I don't know. I guess you can. You got to figure out the human element in order to convey your message across. I never took a writing class. I never even took the one literature class I took here. I failed. I don't know how I ended up failing the literature class. I think Jason changed the grade for me. Him or Felicia, one of them changed. Some kind of way I got up out of here. But I've never taken a writing class, so I mean, and I don't know if I would really like to take. I taught one, and I remember one of the professors that taught a writing class that came and sat in, and he was like, "Oh, the way that you're telling them, they will never get published." Duh. You're not published, I'm published. So I didn't say that to him. I said, "Really? Well, so how will you get published?" Idiot. But anyway, so I apply my psychology to more mental things into the characters than anything else. Any other questions? Yes, sir. A friend of mine that went to high school with named Trey Lorenz. Trey was singing with Mariah Carey, background on Mariah Carey. They met each other before her first album. And so Trey, he did this VH1 special where they did a remake of Michael Jackson's I'll Be There. So people started asking about Trey. And so Trey had a record deal. And so I don't know how he even thought that I could write songs. I didn't even know I could write them. But we got together some kind of way. He called me up and we started fiddling around, and then I had like 2 songs on there. So, and then from Trey's album, the people, like just like anything else, if you like a book, then you may go back and read this other book. Or in the music industry, they'll go to the credits and say, oh, who wrote this song? So I guess R. Kelly saw who wrote this song and contacted Trey's people, and Trey called me and said, hey, R. Kelly wanna. Then the song that I wrote with R. Kelly, the people from Jersey, it just, that's how it started. I don't know any of the people. I know them after you work with them for a minute, and then you go on about your business. So that's how that happened. Any other questions? Comments? Concerns? Yes, ma'am. How you develop a character. I think the way I write, I create issues first. I'll write a list of issues that I want to talk about in a book. And then I'll start assigning those issues to characters. So with those particular issues in mind, the personality, if I want to write a crackhead, I'm more than likely not going to write the same, he's not going to talk like a doctor. So I have to create how a crackhead would talk. Even if he's an educated crackhead, once you're around a certain element for a while, you start emulating that behavior. So that's how I develop them based on the issues. And as far as the physical descriptions, you just describe them, red jacket, pinstripe pants, Caucasian lady, sitting on a leg crossed, little stuff like that. You just visualize. And so, but as far as the issues is concerned, my whole books, all of them are issue driven. So I tend to want to, sometimes I get in trouble with my editors for not enough character development. I'm more focused on the issues, and then I go back. Sometimes in order to finish a book, I have to write it 3 times, because I'll write the issues and go on. Oh, well, Travis, what color is she? Oh, I forgot. My fault. Okay. Travis, on page 3, she had on a red shirt. Page 7, she had on a blue shirt. It's the same day. Oh, my fault. And then I forget characters' names. People come up to me, Amani. Like, did you sure you write the book? I wrote it. I forgot about her. So that's how I do it. So, yes, ma'am. How long does it take from start to finish? It takes me about, it depends. If I'm on a book's tour, it takes longer because I can't write in the hotels for whatever reason, so. And they try to make it as comfortable for you as possible. So you're in these really nice hotels, and I'm up there playing with the gadgets and going to the swimming pools and doing all that other stuff instead of writing. So it takes longer when I'm on tour. But if I'm not on tour, it takes about 4 to 5 months, maybe 6. And if I'm on tour, it takes 8, 9 months because I get all focused. I got ADD, I think. I think I got adult ADD. Yes, ma'am. Heart cement, yeah. It was always an African American studies class, for most part. I did a book signing at Harvard, and it was for the African American Alumni Association, and they made it required to read. I didn't have a degree, and it's kind of weird to go up to Harvard with all of these intellectuals and sit there and talk. But I was just as ignorant as I am up here today. So, yeah. All right. Yep. So thank you. Any more questions, comments? Yes. Is there a character of any of my books that reflect me? Probably the first book, simply because I didn't know how to write a book, and probably the first character, Prodigy. And that book, The Hearts of Men, is about this guy who comes from Philadelphia, which I came from Philadelphia, and he moved to Atlanta. There are some things that I took creative license on, like I've never been to jail, but he's been to jail. And so, there are things that I might put a little Ray in there just to make it interesting because I'm kind of bored. But he comes from Philadelphia. He's in this little crime thing up there, and he comes down here to get a better life. And then down here, of course, he gets back into the same circle of guys, and during the midst of one of his crimes, he meets this older man. And instead of calling the police on him, the older man kind of takes him under his wing, and they start developing a relationship, and he goes from being in the streets to where he really wants to be, which is in legitimate world. And so he gets in the legitimate world and meets this girl who has a son, and they kind of develop a relationship in his little journey. And then there's the middle-aged guy who grew up abandoned by his mother. He was raised in a house of a bootlegger. Anybody know what a bootlegger is? Sell liquor on days. My man right here raised his hand real quick. I'm a bootlegger. So he grew up really rough, without any love or any of the things that a child needs to build a successful adult. So when he gets his own family, he overdoes it. He works. His wife, of course, wants him home a little bit, so when he's not home, she goes and gets her cheat on with the pastor of the church, and he flips his wig, and anyway, that's Hearts of Men and their little drama that's all up in there. So, but Prodigy from the Hearts of Men and Married but Still Looking at Trouble Man. Those are the first 3 books in there like that. So, yes, sir. Oh, critics. Well, the critics tend to be the readers. They read and they'll email you and let you know what they like, what they don't like, and sometimes you listen to it, sometimes you don't. Like this lady emailed me one day and said, "Why did Jermaine drive a BMW X5? I drive an X5. I'm not a drug dealer." Delete. Drive whatever you want to drive. Yeah, BMWs. That's not for drug dealers. Okay. But then you'll get some things where people say, "I didn't understand this particular character," So then you go back and say, okay, well, how could I make sure that doesn't happen again in the next book? So with books, it's kind of different because the books are published. You can't go back and fix them. Only thing you can do is fix the next book. When I did the stage play, I had little comment cards. I ran it for a week in New York, and people wrote little comments down of what they liked and what they didn't like. So the next night, before the next play, we could fix those things. So those are, to answer your question, I listen to the people that actually support the product. So the magazines and stuff, I don't even read those kind of things. I don't know if they like them or not. I'm not, because I could get caught up in trying to please people who buy one copy, or they don't even buy that one copy. The publisher send it to them. So, and I don't really want to do that. That's why I've never taken a writing class, because I don't want to quote unquote claim I'm writing the right way, because I still don't think I know how to write a book. Every time I finish a book, I'd be amazed when they send it to me in the mail, and I feel like Ray kicking in, like I'm hustling. So, but when people come up to me and say, "Oh, this is really good," so you would think after 8 books I would kind of get into it, but I still feel like every book is, maybe it's more like a blessing that I don't take for granted. So let's look at it that way. Anyway, any other questions? Yes.
So when Ray gets out, you don't let him be your
Ray is in school right now. He told me he's in school, so he's Ray's interesting. I'm an only child, but I'm really not an only child. My mother has 4 sisters and 1 brother, so we all lived it with each other. If you were doing something crazy, they would send you to go live with Aunt Lynn, because she was the only one that would make you go to school. And so, and my Aunt Carol, she was always so mean that they wouldn't. She's a PhD. She does all of this. Nobody wanted to go stay with her. So my mom was kind of cool, but she would make you go to school. So they would always come send people to live with my mom. Now, throughout the criminals in our family, they come to live with me. I done put everybody out in my family at least once. I'm like, you're going to have to do something other than just watch cable. My cousin Ray, when he was staying, he called me, "Man, the cable off." I'm at work. What do you want me to do? "Man, you need to pay this bill and bring me a sub home." So, it's tough. In my family, in 4 generations of men, I'm the only one that's never been to jail. And they call me a punk. "Man, you punk, soft. Okay, I go get locked up so I can be in your group." But anyway, hold on a second. Yes, there was someone over here. They raised that? Yes. My writing process, it's more, I don't know. I just write, like I said, I create the issues that I want to talk about. I don't know where I get them from, and I don't know where they come from. I think I used to lie a lot when I was little. I was practicing for my world and my future career. I just create all of these little worlds that I thought that should be there. And so, I don't know. But my writing, schedule-wise, I write at night. I tend to go to bed 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, since I don't have a job, And when I wake up, take my son to school, come back home, go to bed. Or or when he misses the bus, which is every morning. Anyway, so I just come home and write for a couple of hours, go to sleep, and get up and go to the juvenile detention center, come home. He always plays sports, so he didn't come home from school till 6:30, so I have all of that time. And so, yeah, I just write in the mornings or in the afternoons, whenever the feeling hits me. But most of the time it's at night when it's quiet, no FedEx, no phone, no dogs, no nothing. So, yes.
Has your son began to change his view on college?
Oh yeah, he's cool with it now. I mean, he was gonna change it anyway. Either he was gonna change it or that switch was gonna change it. Something was gonna change it. Yes, Quinn. I don't know. I mean, because I don't have a job, that's 8 hours that I can play with, So I go to school for a couple hours, come home, go to sleep. I figure out a way, some kind of way. I don't know. I don't. If I sit down and try to write it out, I'm gonna be off schedule because something with a schedule keeps getting me off. Like that's why I can't keep a job. I'm always late. So, any other questions? Yes. Oh no, I always write on my laptop. I mean, this publishers take Microsoft Word, so I type faster than I write. So no, it's always the same method. I mean, when I do get writer's block, I have a lot of things going on, so it never really kicks in. If I sit down to write something and nothing is flowing, I just shut it down and go do something else. So I mean, there's always something to do. Or sometimes it's me. That means I'm not supposed to do anything. I'm supposed to go to sleep. So writer's block never really affects me because I have a lot of other things going on. So, yeah, yes. I'll just go do something else. You get your mind off of it, and when you come back, it's pretty much there most of the time, 90% of the time. And if it's not, then just go do something else until it comes back. Like a lot of times I'll think, I'm going to write this and nothing is coming. I might get in my car and just go for a drive, or I might just go to Target, and then keep my mind, and it'll pop in, when sometimes I was at Target with a basket full of stuff and it came in, I got to go. I'll come back and get this later. So because I had been trying to figure out what I was going to write so long and I didn't want to lose it, I just left the stuff right. Poor little people at Target take all that stuff out. And I never went back. Not for that, but I mean, so when it comes, you got to get it, But I mean, most of the time, I don't try to force it because I end up throwing that stuff away. If you try to force something and it's not going to work, just like a relationship, you try to force it, you're not going to work. It's supposed to be easy. So that's my philosophy. Yes. What's somebody else over here? Yes. A switch.
Well, very common. They're not doing what they're
A switch. No. I don't know. I know doctors who are writers, lawyers who are writers. You just have to go through life until you can find your whatever makes you happy. Sometimes I think, we live in a society where you have to have something put in place. Sometimes I think 18 is too early to go and say, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. I don't think I don't know. I just don't believe that that's really the way it is. I mean, sometimes it works for people. They know early on what they want to be. Whereas, I had no idea. I didn't even know anything about colleges. I had all of these scholarships and I thought college was college. I didn't know Clark was any different than Harvard. I just thought college was college. And I thought all men should major in business because I see you go to college, you put on a suit. I didn't want to major in business. So that's why I started working at a bank. I hate the bank. I hated going to work every day. I had a headache. And I used to have hair. I think been working at the bank, so I didn't like it. So, that's why I was always late every day. So subconsciously, I just didn't want to be there. But, I knew you got to pay the bills. But I think so when you go to school so early, you get caught up in trying to do what I guess other people think that you should do. And so I was going to get a degree, but I just wasn't going to get it at 22, just maybe at 42. I need that other 20 years, my prime years to go get my boogie on and do what I want to do. College is not going anywhere, so I always, you got to do something. You can't just go live with your mom. I'm going to figure it out. Mom, I need 10 years. But you got to do something. But I just think that you should do something and eventually you'll find out what you like doing. So I don't like to push college on people, but I don't want to push them away from it. But sometimes when you push someone to do something that they don't want to do, they don't do very well. Like I had, over 100 opportunities to go to college for free. But I ended up paying for it because I didn't want to go at that time. So, I mean, I stayed on academic probation. Oh, every time, Mr. Hunter, you can't play this weekend or next weekend or the weekend after that until you get them grades up. When you going to go to class? Oh, you got to go to class. I thought I had to go to practice. So, I mean, but you know, I just didn't like it. I didn't want to be there. So, but then also when I was there, I was majoring in the wrong thing, you know. So if I would have been majoring in psychology, I would have enjoyed my classes because I like doing that. But I was in a business class in accounting. I'm like, that's not my thing, you know. So, any other questions? Yes. You want to just talk to me afterwards. You got like 45 questions. If I wasn't writing, what would I be doing? Coaching. You know, I coach the quarterbacks at, you know, the school. I like coaching. I like working with kids. If I wasn't writing, I would be doing something with kids. You know, probably being a counselor over at the juvenile detention center or something like that. I mean, there's a kid that was in the juvenile detention center. I'm getting off task a little bit, but I'm very proud of him. He was in the juvenile detention center. He played football for Shiloh. And he was in a car with some guys that had a gun. So they suspended him. Well, they expelled him. So when he got out, this was his first offense, good student, but he just had this rap music thing in his head. He wanted to be a thug. Oh, a temporary thug. And so he got in the juvenile detention center. He was in there acting a fool, and there was just something about him that just didn't seem authentic. Because there are some authentic thugs in the jail, and they're going to be there. That's where they're going to be. That's where they need to be, and that's where they're going to be. But there are some people who just made some bad choices. So anyway, this particular kid made a bad choice. And we started talking, and then I went and spoke with the judge and spoke with his public defender, and they were going to give him a couple of years. But I'm very friendly with the judge on his case. And so I took her to lunch, and we talked about it, and she said, I'll just give him 90 days since it's his first offense. After his 90 days were over, he wanted to get back in school, but he was expelled. And so I think out of the 90 days, he might have did 45 days, something like that. And so he was expelled. So they wouldn't let him in any of the schools. I went and talked to the people at DeKalb County. They wouldn't let him in. Fulton County wouldn't let him in. So anyway, his parents were from Mississippi. So they sent him down to Mississippi. And he called me about a week ago and said, well, the whole time we had been talking. And so he called me and said, Mr. Hunter, I was just offered a scholarship to play football at LSU, at linebacker. And so that was like one of the true success stories that keep me going up there, because here's a kid that was, you know, going to be in prison for the next 3 or 4 years behind something stupid, yet, you know, when some people step in that, you know, with connections to help people, with people that was in a position to help him, he ended up now he's going to be, I guess, a productive member of society versus a menace to society. So, because once you get in prison, they tend to emulate that behavior in prison to survive. You know, even if you're a good guy, you can't necessarily be in a land of wolves. Hey guys, stop. You know, it just doesn't work that way. So I'm glad, his name is Brandon, and I'm glad that he, you know, is going to be going off to school on a free ride and playing football and enjoying himself. So go Brandon. Yeah, yes. Girls. And you talking about in college? Girls. Yeah, period. Girls. I don't know what's wrong with me. So, but anyway, that's always been a distraction for me. It's just, Travis, why aren't you at football practice? Did you see her? Did you see what she had on today? That football practice ain't going nowhere. Anyway, anybody else? When Jack stands up, that means it's time for me to sit down. So, but thank you guys. I really appreciate the audience and the questions and all of the good stuff. If you do want books, I will be over there signing books. And thank you.